Just ahead, the priceless McKay collection of Charlie Russell art at the Montana Historical Society.
This is the sun coming up.
When the land belonged to God, a vast buffalo herd stretching far beyond the horizon.
And you can see the light reflected off every drip of water that's coming off of those bodies.
We can gaze into that distant past thanks to the gifted paintbrush of Charles M. Russell, better known as Charlie, the legendary cowboy artist.
Malcolm McKay was one of Charlie's patrons, and the McKays and the Russells became very good friends.
This masterpiece is part of the fabulous McKay Gallery of Russell art on permanent display at the Montana Historical Society.
This painting was Mrs. McKay's favorite painting,
which we were privileged to tour with the gifted actress and storyteller, Mary Jane Bradbury.
One of the things that scholars agree on is that without Nancy Cooper, there would be no Charlie Russell,
who brings Charlie's beloved wife Nancy back to life.
No education to speak of, not very good health.
In the one-woman show she performs at schools and other venues.
And she and Charlie just sort of collided here in Montana. Neither of them were from Montana. So it's a wonderful story. And to tell her story from her perspective is an exciting adventure.
Many books have been written on the great life adventure that Charlie and Nancy shared, including Nancy's absorbing unfinished manuscript, Backtracking in Memory, finally polished and published in 2021.
So this is one of Charlie's early paintings, caught in the act.
As you look into the bygone world of the Old West Charlie captured in his paintings, you also learn the story of this gifted artist.
This is 1894, just after Charlie had decided not to keep cowboying and to focus on his art.
Who left his St. Louis home at 16 in 1880 to become a Montana cowboy.
He was a cowboy until 1893, but he also was absorbing the stories of Montana.
Russell got to Montana in time to experience the closing chapter of the Old West.
Look at the dust.
Working on the big cattle outfits of the open range.
Look at how far back that herd goes. I mean, little details like that, the light shining off that dust, it's remarkable.
Living with Indians and witnessing their clash of cultures.
He balanced the stories by painting from the Indians' point of view.
Those experiences and the stories he heard on the frontier.
So many of his paintings are told from the perspective of the native people. Did Charlie see it? Certainly in his heart and mind he saw it.
Give his timeless work depth, perspective, and heart.
Charlie's compassion, Charlie's humanity comes through in so many of his paintings and sculptures because the story that underpinned the thing that he created is what he wanted viewers to understand.
Charlie was an immensely talented artist, but a terrible businessman, known for trading his pictures to pay off his saloon bill, until he met Nancy Cooper in 1895.
She thinks I'm a good artist, and you just can't disappoint a person like that.
Married a year later, Nancy inspired and enabled Charlie to focus on creating while she handled sales and exhibitions.
People would visit Great Falls and say to her, you know, if you really want to get going in this art business, you need to go to New York City.
To New York they went in 1904, where the Russells not only met buyers like Malcolm McKay, original owner of this collection, but other artists as well, whose influence made a dramatic impact on Charlie's later work.
He'd been using house paints. That vault door is painted with house paint. He kept his paints and his brushes in an old sock that he tied to the horn of his saddle. I mean, this is not a sophisticated man, but this is a man with immense talent. That now that Nancy was making sure he was exposed to the right people in the right places and the right energy, things started to change.
Turn of the century America was fascinated with the Old West, and Russell would become the highest paid artist of his day. But he gave away some of his most prized creations, his illustrated letters.
Charlie Russell had a learning disability,
many of which are preserved today in Helena.
Charlie had dysgraphia, a difficulty writing. His mind and his hands just couldn't coordinate to be able to spell out words. And then when you think about writing letters as the only real way to keep in touch with friends for so long, he began to illustrate his letters.
Will Rogers certainly received a few of those. The two lifelong friends met in New York when both were unknown. Russell would later visit his famous friend on movie sets in 1920s Los Angeles.
Charlie thought that people wouldn't want paintings anymore, that all they'd want to do is go to the movies and see these Westerns, and actually it was quite the opposite. Western artists at the time were setting tone and style for how movies were made, and early motion pictures were often fashioned after the paintings that Western artists were doing.
Few Western movies hold up as well as the timeless Charlie Russell painting,
Indian Hunter's Return. Now probably Charlie saw things like this.
works that say so much, especially if you know where to look.
Look at what Charlie has put in the lower right-hand corner. He's put something that reminds us, this is probably not going to last much longer.
It's just a taste of this priceless collection of Russell art waiting for you to discover at the Montana Historical Society in Helena, or in the pages of the many books about Charlie Russell and his biggest fan, his cherished wife, Nancy.